What is up, wrestling fans? Kayfabe Chronicles with your host, JP. Well, that time of year is once again upon us. The pinnacle of sports entertainment. The showcase of the immortals. Blah, blah, blah. You know what it is. You know what? And last time I did this little history lesson, I finished at WrestleMania 20. So I figured, so now it's that time of the year once again when Roman Reigns is shoved down our throats because we like it. Well, it's better time than ever to finish this little history lesson. So without further ado, this is the History of Wrestlemania Part 2. WrestleMania 21, also known as Mania Goes Hollywood, had real big shoes to fill following WrestleMania 20. With a double main event of JBL vs. John Cena and a squash fest for the ages, and Batista vs. Triple H for the other championship, the main events really didn't hold much interest. However, with a barn burner of a storyline of Randy Orton vs. The Undertaker in a Legend Killer vs. Streak match, and Shawn Michaels doing what he does best, losing at Mania to insert random opponent here, but still putting on a hell of a match. Seriously, for a guy whose nickname is Mr. WrestleMania, his win-loss record really isn't that great. Seriously, you should look it up. Like I was saying, the night did have some saving grace. But top it off with train wrecks of Trish Stratus versus Miss Eat a Pie with My Ass Christy Hemme and a sumo match involving perennial Mania loser Big Show, it was a Mania that many forget. If it is a plus, though, the commercials of superstars spoofing famous Hollywood movies made it worthwhile. Ric Flair yelling, "Woo!" on a donkey is still the thing dreams are made of. WrestleMania 22 is kind of interesting. Two of my friends were in attendance for this event, and they were the first two out of our group to actually attend a live WrestleMania. This idea was kind of floating around us for many years, and they were the first two to actually pull it off. Now, I know that my time will eventually come, but I did get a lot of great stories out of this event, like the world's greatest tasting $20 rum and coke, and they did get to see Trish get her nether region grabbed by Mickie James. We all kind of win. Joking aside, there were still some decent things going on. Edge and Mick Foley tore the house down in a hardcore match whose storytelling is almost unmatched to this day. RVD won the Money in the Bank, back when it was a Mania staple and not some dick sandwich of a pay-per-view. Rey Mysterio captured his lone world title, because, having Chavo, an actual blood relative to the recently departed Eddie Guerrero win the title, that just made too much sense. And there was flaming piles of dog with the Boogeyman versus Booker and the Playboy pillow fights. WrestleMania 23. Just roll the package. Ric Flair. That's right, Ric freaking Flair wrestled a confusing as tag team match during the pre-show. The freaking pre-show. Ric Flair and pre-show should never be in the same sentence. Kane jobbed to the Great Khali, a lumberjill match from hell, and Vince going against the future president with hired goons, resulting in a loser getting their head shaved. Hey, spoiler alert, Vince loses. The only thing of beauty in this heap of crap was Mr. Kennedy winning the Money in the Bank. Sadly, though, he had to cough it up shortly after due to injury. John Cena and Shawn Michaels tearing down the house, and Undertaker capturing the world title from Batista.
And there was much rejoicing.
Who likes sappy moments? Okay, well, WrestleMania 24 is probably one of the most tear-jerking moments in wrestling. The Playboy Bunny Mania Lumberjill match. And I know what you're thinking. There's many people out there who are going to disagree and think that Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair in a career match is sadder. But think of all the crap that the lady wrestlers had to endure prior to the women's revolution. And I know, TNA did it first. You gotta admit, though, seeing Shawn Michaels utter, "I'm sorry, I love you," before kicking the Nature Boy's face in, ending his storied career, is the stuff that fuels emotion. There are few moments in wrestling that made me cry, and this was one of them. Now, odds are I'll probably make a video of these moments someday, but I'm saving those tears for the day that Jean-Pierre Lafitte takes his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame, and subsequently the Hall of Gods on Mount Olympus. But today, we're talking about Mania. The night didn't really have much else going for it. Undertaker beat Edge. CM Punk won the Money in the Bank, and Floyd Mayweather added more money to his bank account by beating everyone's favorite WrestleMania losing. You know what? I wonder how Big Show's record compares to Michaels. Anyway, heel face flippin' big man, the Big Show. So, that was a thing people at headquarters thought would equal a draw, and for some weird reason, it did. I'm Vince McMahon, the man with the biggest grapefruits in all of sports entertainment, and I fully support this claim. Now, people who normally don't watch wrestling paid to see this because they thought it was going to be something special. I can count on one hand the amount of times that a match that has featured a celebrity made me go, holy crap, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Oh, no. Bad booking. When you think of a list of greatest WrestleMania, hell, let's go with favorite matches of all time. Undertaker vs. Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 will most likely be on most of these lists. Also, a little tidbit of extra information, most people's favorite Mania X7 took place in Houston. Most people's favorite Mania match, Shawn Michaels vs. The Undertaker, also took place in Houston. Think about it. If we hold every single WrestleMania from now on in Houston, they'll never disappoint the fans again. That is, unless I decide to have Roman Reigns win every single title ever made next time we're in Houston. Oh yeah, listen to me. I know what the people want. Like I was saying, Michaels vs. The Undertaker usually falls on most people's top matches list. And for a reason. It had everything you could ask for. For starters, it was lengthy. It clocked in at over half an hour. It had stipulations, as is all of Taker's matches when the streak was involved, and above all, it had athleticism out the ass. The false finishes, the pacing, the fact it was two of the best wrestlers of that era made it a match for the ages. The disadvantage was, it wasn't even the main event. Heck, it wasn't even the second last match. There were still 2 title matches to follow this, and boy did I feel sorry for them. Other matches that night consisted of JBL retiring after an embarrassing showing to Rey Mysterio. Matt and Jeff Hardy fought each other in an Extreme Rules match that was booked mainly due to a real-life tragedy that involved a house fire on Jeff's property. Because, WWE doesn't do anything ever in bad taste. Ricky Steamboat showed that he still had it by going hold for hold with Chris Jericho. And the Divas partook in a history-making battle royal to determine Miss WrestleMania. But of course that was soured when Santino Marella and Drag ended up winning. And they wonder why people treated women's wrestling like a joke until recently. Unless it's TNA. Overall, though, WrestleMania 25 is worth a watch for sure. Well, the next couple Manias are utter garbage, so you know my style. Here we go. The one where they tried to recreate the magic of Taker and Michaels from the previous, but didn't quite hit the mark. But it was still a damn good match. Oh yeah, and Shawn retired. And Bret got his revenge against Mr. McMahon. If you can call it that. The one where it was hosted by The Rock, and he talked about his water for 20 minutes in order to assist in filling up 4-hour time slots. The one with a once-in-a-lifetime main event. The one where my friends went without me. Again. And also had the same once-in-a-lifetime main event. Again. And the one where the streak ended. There's many historical moments in time where people ask you where you were when you heard the news. The JFK assassination, 9/11, the date Jean-Pierre Lafitte was born. And as a wrestling fan, this was huge news. Now, I didn't get to see WrestleMania 30 live because the wife and I were expecting to welcome to the world our little guy at any moment. And it wouldn't be too good if I was out watching WrestleMania while she was at home alone and her water broke. Now, we didn't give birth that night, but I was busy reading live updates on my phone, and of course swore as loud as I could when I found out that Undertaker had lost at WrestleMania. Even my wife, who doesn't even watch wrestling that often, knew how legendary the streak was, and she was just as shocked as me when she found out. It just goes to show how important the legacy of The Undertaker in WrestleMania is. Now, besides everyone's hopes and dreams and all of reality being destroyed, the other big focal point of this Mania was Daniel Bryan battling through the corporation and earning his long-awaited title shot in an epic battle of good versus evil. Only to be stripped of the title shortly after because he was unable to defend it in 30 days. A rule that they still follow to this day. The storyline was a prime example of WWE actually listening to the fans and giving us what we wanted. It all started at the Royal Rumble, where everyone thought Bryan was going to be an entrant. He wasn't, and the Rumble was won by Batista. Now, back in the day, Batista was one of the biggest names in the industry, and this made sense, but, it was years later. And, he was recently in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and odds are Vince was planning a crossover between the film. Thus, having Batista win the Rumble, the pieces should have naturally fit into place. but the fans wanted nothing to do with it. Constant cheers for Daniel Bryan during the Rumble were unavoidable. The boos were so bad after Batista won that he even flipped off the crowd. The crowd was so rowdy that when usual crowd favorite Rey Mysterio came in at 30, and not Daniel Bryan, even Rey got a lashing from the fans. The next night on Raw, the Yes movement was in full effect, and you couldn't even carry on with production properly because the fans were so angry that Daniel Bryan was once again being ignored. Vince had no choice but to try to fix the situation, and thus the Fighting for the Title Shot storyline was born, and it was one of the best decisions and best Mania moments. Triple H and Stephanie would mock Daniel Bryan for being an underdog and never being able to rise to the top of the company. Over time, this would heat up their feud, and thus result into them fighting at Mania, where if Daniel Bryan won, he would be inserted into the title match later that night. The match happened, and Triple H came out all Skeletor-like. You know what? A little tidbit of info, though, was he was accompanied to the ring by Charlotte before she was the Queen, Sasha before she was the Boss, and Alexa before she was the Goddess. Now, it's very common practice for developmental stars to pose as security guards, backstage hands, valet, and whatnots. But it's funny that all three of these happen to accompany trips down the ring, and now all three of them are some of the biggest names in the women's revolution movement. Anyways, Daniel won his match, found his way into the title, and made history. Now, other notables for this event were AJ Lee padding her lengthy title run, only for her to drop the next night to Paige, The Shield continuing its dominance, Bray Wyatt starting his wonderful trend of spouting a bunch of weird gothic crap, getting into his opponent's mind and then losing at Mania, and of course, Cesaro tossing Big Show out of the ring during the Battle Royal like he was hoisting Simba. WrestleMania 31 had things that made it special. It was the return to an outdoor venue, it was Sting's WWE debut, Seth Rollins had to steal the century by cashing in the Money in the Bank in order to save us from a title reign by Roman Reigns. But the one thing, the whole highlight of the night, that freaking mid-air RKO out of nowhere early in the night, that I still rewatch over and over and over again to relive the feeling of holy shit. The outdoor atmosphere added to the feel. Daniel Bryan won the IC title, only to have it stripped again due to injury, because, 30 days. Triple H went all Terminator and shit, and the match ended with DX and the NWO, because, WrestleMania 32, or as I call it, the Wrath of Reigns, was definitely a step in the wrong direction. A main event that didn't leave much room for the imagination, and Brock Lesnar doing what he always does. Stiff a fan favorite and collect a giant paycheck. Although the night was mostly sloppy, the triple threat for the Divas Championship to determine the new women's champion was a classic. Zack Ryder had a crazy Mania moment by winning the IC title in a ladder match that everyone thought he was just inserted in for filler. Even though he did drop the belt the next night to The Miz, but this match added more depth to the already strong feud between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Funny story about this. Now, a friend of mine, actually ironically one of the guys who went to the WrestleManias that I talked about earlier, flat out said prior to this match, if Zack Ryder wins this match, I'm going to drink all the liquor in the house. Yeah, we didn't get to have any liquor for the rest of the night. He is a man of his words. Like I was saying, by having The Miz take the title the next night on Raw, it started one of the best heel runs of the year with The Miz as the IC champ. His promos, his attitude, his complete lack of following the rules, this is some of the best stuff The Miz has done in his career. And it's funny because as much of a prick The Miz is on TV, apparently he's actually a really nice person. And I believe it. I've seen his charity work for kids. The guy oozes generosity. Other moments of the night had Baron Corbin making his main roster debut by winning the Andre Battle Royal, The New Day going all full Dragon Ball Z cosplay, Brie Bella having her final match before retiring to start a family, and of course everyone's favorite stuntman that shouldn't have been, Shane O'Mac doing what he does best. Jump off things taller than buildings, break tables, and possibly his neck. Because, ratings! If I'm to rank WrestleMania 32, I definitely rank it somewhere near the middle. It wasn't life-changing, but it wasn't utter goat either. The Triple Threat Ladies match stole the show, and Undertaker vs. Shane McMahon turned out a lot better than expected. Plus, I got to see my friend Pickle himself, because he doesn't understand how special Zack Ryder actually is. So, you know what? Everybody wins. Now, WrestleMania 33, or as I like to call it, pack a lunch because this is going to take up your day. Seriously, the total length of this event with pre-show and event together is longer than legal work days. And that's completely unnecessary. Now, I decided to do the unthinkable and watch this thing front to back. So I kissed the wife and kid goodbye and started my journey Bilbo style. And oh god, what a journey it was. It started off pretty epic with Neville versus Austin Aries. And the thing that sucks is you'll only get to see this match if you watched it live or PVR'd it, because for some stupid reason, they decided to not include it on the DVD. Then we followed it up with Mojo Rawley, out of all people, winning the Andre Battle Royal with help from Rob Gronkowski. And now there's rumors that Gronk may want to take on wrestling as a career after he retires. Because, yeah, people want that. And then probably one of the biggest disappointments of the night, a shitstorm IC title match between Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin. Seriously, this match had a ton of potential on paper. But, due to it being on the pre-show, my guess is the guys didn't feel like giving 100%. And you could tell. It was really sloppy and, I don't know, derp. Now, all of this was just the pre-show. That's right. The main show hasn't even started yet, and they threw all of that into the pre-show. Most people haven't even shown up to the event yet. I've heard stories that the IC title match was moved to the pre-show in place of the SmackDown Women's title because of the uproar from the fans. Granted, though, since that match was added to the main card, I'm guessing it was cut for time. That many women in one match, it should have lasted way longer than the 6 minutes we got. But at least their entrance gear looked cool. Mania 33, also known as the pre-match workout, ramp style, is truly a mixed bag. An amazing show opener with AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon in what we can only compare to an identical recreation of Brock's famous shooting star press from WrestleMania 19. The return of the Hardy Boys, WWE trying to recreate the magic of the previous WrestleMania's women's title match on the Raw side, but failing miserably. Me being really excited to see Maurice return to the ring, but it resulted in a squash match with her and John Cena and Nikki Bella and all that. But it did end up in a proposal though, so yay to love and stuff. Brock Lesnar got his much-needed revenge on Goldberg, but it did start the most boring and lazy title run in WWE history, and me along with the rest of the world bawling uncontrollably as The Undertaker hung up his gear for the last time. If you say you were not at least choked up a tiny bit, then you, my friend, have no soul. This man put in over 2 decades with WWE, a streak that will most likely never be beaten, and a legacy that remains unmatched. Sure, he's no Jean-Pierre Lafitte, but The Undertaker's pretty damn close. So with that, WrestleMania 33 was kind of a letdown for me. It was the first time in a long time I was really excited for Mania, mainly due to the ridiculous budget and hype package. The whole theme park idea, because, that's kind of Orlando's thing. It really hooked me in. But alas, the show just didn't hit the mark for me. And there you guys have it. WrestleMania, the history, 21 through 33. If you guys like what you saw, make sure to hit that like button, crush subscribe, and make sure to click the little bell notification so you can be informed every single time that we are online and doing what we do, and that is have some crazy fun. And if you are new to the channel, we do a live stream every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central Time, except for pay-per-view nights. We'll always wait until after the pay-per-view, and then we'll discuss what happened and all that stuff. Hey, and also remember to follow us on Twitter using the name tag down below, and also check out that Facebook page. This is JP from Kayfabe Chronicles, and I will see you guys next time.